Okay, kids, this is not a demo. This is just talking about my experiences with some of the more affordable tube amplifiers and cabinets. Um, I've had several pieces come through here. Most of them that I sold or returned because they were junk. They just didn't sound good. Too much money for what you got. A few I kept, but it took a little doing for a few of them. I'm pointing at the Marshall DSL 40CR. The reason I'm starting with this one is because all I can say about this is a killer amplifier. Right out of the box, this thing sounds great. You don't have to do anything to it. Mine came completely loaded with all JJ tubes. Some of them came with some Shigwangs in it, but mine came with all Marshall branded JJs. Both preamp and power amp tubes were all Marshall branded JJs. The only change I made to this amp was I pulled the tube in the phase inverter position and replaced it with a Sovtech 12AX7 LPS because that's what I like in the Marshalls and any high gain amplifier in the phase inverter. It does a really good job. This amplifier is just killer. It screams. And a Les Paul and an SG will sound awesome through this amp. Actually, my Telecaster sounds good through it too. All right, moving on. Marshall, Origin 50. To make this amp sound decent, I had to do a few things. I pulled all the tubes. I replaced the preamp tubes with V1 and V2, got a matched gain set of JJEC83S tubes. And once again, in the phase inverter position, I put the Sovtech 12AX7 LPS. I also replaced the power tubes with Mullard reissues. This smoothed it out nicely, and it has a very plexi tone, and it does produce a fair amount of gain. The cabinet it's sitting on is the affordable MX212. This cabinet ships with two 7080 Celestion 7080 speakers loaded in it. Okay, good God, those speakers suck. I've given them a fair shake and ended up pulling them out of every single amp that came through here and putting another speaker in to see if I can get the amp to sound decent. No matter how long you play through them, they're never going to sound good. Once they break in, they still sound like crap. So in this case, I replaced them with Celestion G12 T75s. These are the stock speakers in the higher end cabinets like the JCM cabinets and have been for decades. People turn their noses up at them. They sound great. I'm sorry, that is the Marshall sound. When you see a stack of Marshalls on a stage, that's what you're hearing. You're hearing those amps being played through G12 T75s, not creambacks and greenbacks. They're coming through the G12 T75s, and it was a great improvement to this amp. This rig now sounds fantastic. Coming over to the Black Star. This one had, when it came out of the box, it had a completely unusable gain structure. The overdrive channel, you can see right there, I've got the gain just a little below half. When I got this amp, I couldn't turn the gain past that, and it was already crazy stupid. It was just horrible, and there was also a volume discrepancy between the clean channel and the overdrive channel. When you switch the channels, I've got the 5-button switch down here. When you switch the channels, the volume would drop when you went to the overdrive channel drastically. The volumes on the overdrive we had to have the volume here about straight up at 12 noon, and then the volume on the overdrive had to be about where it's at now. And you can see now they're both fairly equal. So I addressed those issues. Plus, it sounded like crap. I really didn't like the sound of the amp because it came with a Celestion 7080 speaker. You know, for a couple extra bucks, they could have put a better speaker in it, but they didn't. So anyway, what I did was I pulled out, there's only 2 preamp tubes in this thing. I pulled out the 12AX7s that were in it and I replaced them with a matched set of JJ 12AT7s. And that brought the whole gain factor down and not only made the volume and the gains more usable, I had more headroom, it also made the EQ more usable. It changed the EQing so that I had a more sensitive EQ, and I could go and set it the way I wanted it. And I could dial it in little bitty increments like this, and it actually made a difference, because with the 12AX7, you couldn't do anything. Every little move you made, it was way too much. The reverb in this thing is okay, but that speaker, the 7080, once again, chunk of crap. I gave it a fair shake. I ran it in this thing for about 4 months before I ripped it out of there. And then this one, most guys are going with V30s in these. I wanted to do something different. I wanted something more neutral. The V30 has kind of a mid-scoop. I wanted something that was going to be pretty even across the bandwidth. So I went with a Celestion Classic Lead 80. And now this amp sounds great. All the controls are usable. I get a good tone coming out of it. Every guitar I plug into it sounds great. The cleans sound beautiful. I really like playing my Fenders through this one. Okay, there you have it. These are probably 3 of the most popular affordable tube amps on the market today. My number 1 pick, just because of versatility and the fact that I didn't have to do anything to it, is the DSL 40CR. That thing, this is a killer amplifier. Okay, these other 2 I had to do a lot to make them usable. But hey, you know, it is what it is. Now I've got 3 guitar amps here that all sound different and all sound great, but this one, right out of the box, this is the one right here, and they're all loud. So there you go. There's my experience with these amps. There have been several others that came through here that I dumped. I had 3 different Bugaras. I had another Marshall, a DSL 20, and a little MX 112 cab. Got rid of that. I had PV. What is it called? Something King, I forget. That thing gone. There's been a lot of amps that have come through here that I just didn't keep because they just weren't doing it for me. These are the ones that I kept. But this one, oh boy, I really like this one. A Les Paul and an SG ripped through that thing. Anyway, there you go, folks. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for watching, and God bless.